There was a time when it seemed as if the world had its eyes on me. Every whisper, every laugh, every glance felt like a judgment, a spotlight illuminating every perceived flaw, every misstep. But isn't it fascinating how the mind can create illusions, crafting a reality that exists only in our own perception? Because when you think about it, aren't most people too entangled in their own thoughts, their own worries, their own silent battles, to truly focus on anyone else for long? And as that realization sinks in, something shifts. Because if people are lost in their own internal world, if their attention is fleeting and scattered, then doesn't that mean I'm free? Free to express, free to explore, free to simply exist without the weight of imagined scrutiny. With that freedom comes a powerful truth, that the only person truly witnessing my every thought, my every action is me. When you hold on to that thought, really let it settle in, doesn't it become easier to just be? To move through the world with confidence, with ease, without that unnecessary burden of self-consciousness. And the more I embrace this truth, the more I realise that connection is effortless. Because when the need to impress dissolves, when the energy of seeking approval fades, what remains is authenticity. And authenticity attracts. It invites, it resonates. Because those who are meant to align with me, they'll do so naturally, effortlessly, without force. And those who don't, they're never mine to hold on to in the first place. And isn't that such a liberating realization? And yet, for so long, I've lived by rules I never chose. Rules formed from childhood moments. Echoes of voices telling me how to be. What to suppress, what to hide. But if a belief was formed once, it can be unformed. If a rule was imposed, it can be lifted. And the very fact that I can question these rules, examine these beliefs, means I'm already stepping beyond them. And isn't it incredible how, the moment I decide to release what no longer serves me, space is created for something new? And what if, right now, something deep within is shifting? What if, with every breath, I'm untangling from old patterns, unlocking new pathways, rewriting my story? Because every belief, every thought, every assumption, it was simply a program running in the background. And now I get to choose which programs remain, which ones upgrade, and which ones I discard forever. And doesn't that mean I've always had this power? And as I move through life with this awareness, something fascinating happens, doesn't it? I begin to see people differently. No longer as judges, no longer as threats, but as mirrors, reflecting back to me my own energy, my own beliefs. And the more I relax into my own being, the more others relax around me. Because people, they don't remember the words I say. They remember the energy I bring, the way I make them feel. When I carry this calm certainty, this unwavering presence, I become magnetic. And isn't it interesting how the strongest influence isn't forceful, isn't loud, isn't desperate? It's simply the one who holds their reality with the most conviction, the one who believes in their own truth so deeply that others begin to question their own. And the more I commit to my own reality, the more I shape the world around me. And the stronger I stand in my own certainty, the more the world adjusts to meet me where I am. And so I let go. I release the need to control, to overthink, to micromanage every interaction. Because the more I surrender, the further I go. The more I trust, the smoother the journey becomes. The more I listen instead of filling the silence, the more wisdom I gain. Because silence, it isn't empty. It's full of answers. And as I step into this new awareness, this effortless presence, I find everything becomes easier, lighter, more fluid. And the best part, I don't have to try, because change is already happening, isn't it? And so I wonder how deep this transformation goes. As I notice how different everything already feels, I can't help but smile because I already know the answer, don't I? Because you used to think people were laughing at you or judging you, but you've already started to realise this isn't true. In fact, the mind loves creating patterns, and often those patterns, they're about us, but only because we've spent so much time thinking about how we might be perceived. What makes you think that people are laughing at you or judging you? How do you know they're thinking about you at all? Could it be they're just caught up in their own world? Because you used to believe people are always looking at me, judging me, making fun of me. What if instead of them judging me, they're just living their own lives? And because they're focused on their own thoughts, it's actually much easier for me to connect with them effortlessly. Now this shift in thinking opens up the door to something incredibly empowering. The ability to focus on them, their thoughts, their world, instead of staying trapped in your own mind, overanalyzing their perceptions. Because you've already discovered that people are self-absorbed. In a positive sense, of course. Most people, they're so wrapped up in their own thoughts, they don't have the capacity to deeply analyse you or focus on you. They're too busy navigating their own inner landscapes. In those moments, if you can take a deep breath, slow down, you can notice how much room this opens up for you. So imagine this. When you walk into a room, you might start to notice how everyone is lost in their own thoughts. They're not thinking about you. What if you could just be yourself? What if by just being your true self, you become magnetic to the right people, the ones who resonate with you? Because when you stop worrying about what others might think, you open up the space for them to connect with you in the most effortless way possible. It seems impossible, doesn't it, to think that people don't notice you? But isn't it true that when we think less about ourselves, we actually create stronger connection with others? Now, about that deep-rooted fear of rejection. You've been holding yourself to impossible standards to avoid being rejected or judged. But here's a trick. What if you already learned everything you need to know? What if your vulnerability could become your strength instead of a weakness? What if the moment you allowed yourself to feel like a little bit of a helpless child, the exact thing you were once afraid of, you could realise that it's in that very feeling do you gain your true strength. And by embracing that vulnerability, instead of seeing it as a weakness, you start seeing the truth that there's nothing to hide. What would it feel like to know that when you show up as who you really are, others can't help but connect with you? As you've noticed, dissociation has been a survival mechanism for you. But the moment you stop fearing disconnection and begin embracing the quiet, you create space for real connection to flow. The rush of overthinking that used to serve as a way of protecting you starts to lose its power. Imagine your mind like a busy street, cars speeding by, lights flashing, honking horns everywhere. You spend so much time trying to control every car, trying to think faster. But it only makes the traffic worse. What if instead of trying to control the chaos, you slow down? What if you just let the cars pass by and enjoy the calm? Suddenly you find, by slowing down, everything flows more smoothly. The quieter you become, the more you can see the opportunities ahead, the connections just waiting for you to make them. When you think about it slowing down and embracing the quiet, does it feel calm and freeing? Or is it just a bit more relaxing than you expected? Either way, it seems like this might be exactly the shift that you need to unlock your full potential. This entire process allows you to meet people where they're at, not where you think they are. People are simply responding to their own inner world, and if you can connect to their version of reality, you begin to shift theirs, just as you've shifted yours. Isn't it interesting? The more you stop worrying about what others think, the more you start showing up as your true self. And when you do, the right people, They just seem to effortlessly connect with you.